Regional is usually what I would suggest to my prospective clients.
Mm.
That's the best option if they want to have an opportunity for purpose of getting a PR. Even international students, I suggest that they look into studying in a regional area instead of just choosing Melbourne or Sydney, because in some regional area or in some states, if you study there, they will consider you for any future nominations such as 190 or 491. So
Every year, thousands of people migrate to other countries in search for a better life.
Each one with a story to tell of courage and determination.
Adjusting to a new country is not that easy.
Here at Migrant Tribe, we honor you.
So join us as we share our stories from our journey down under.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Migrant Tribe. Stories from our journey down under, episode 34. This is Joseph. Together with me are the other members of the tribe. There's Joey. Hi, Joey.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. And there's John.
Hello, how are we?
Hey, John. Nice to see you, John. Okay. So we're still here in the middle of the pandemic. We're trying to live the new normal. First, traveling overseas is pretty much limited, if ever. But despite all that, we still have friends and family who are probably still considering of migrating or moving here to Australia. So for today, we've invited a migration agent. Okay, so and he'll give us an update on how things are, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Allan Miranda. Hi, Allan. How are you doing?
hi, good evening. Good evening, guys. And also good evening to your viewers.
Okay, thank you for taking time off. I know you're very busy to join us here in the tribe. So let's start off with a big question, okay? So during this current COVID-19 pandemic, was there an effect on the Australian migration policies?
Okay, so yeah, there's a big effect on migration policy, especially right now. I mean, the borders, Australian borders are still closed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are only selected few who can be given a travel exemption. And example, immediate family relatives of citizens, Australian citizens or permanent residents. So we're talking about wives or partners or children.
Mm-hmm.
And also there are like selected occupation who can be given exemption. So there's a list called priority migration skilled occupation list. And these are like those in medical field and some in the IT profession. And recently also they added pharmacist, accountant, and chef in the priority list.
Really? Okay, that's good. Okay, so just to kind of give us an idea. So how long have you been in this field of migration?
Yes, I've been working in this field in the last more than 10 years now. So I started as a migration assistant until I received my legal practice certificate. So I'm also a migration agent and lawyer.
Oh, okay. Okay. So how's it been? Good?
Right now, it's still, despite the pandemic and the borders are closed, it's still busy in the profession, especially, we have people here in Australia whose visa are expiring and they need to stay a bit longer. So we process those visa or those are currently being sponsored by their employers. Because currently, because of the border closure, we don't have international students. So there's a big shortage in some industry like in hospitality. So like chef, cooks, or even wait staff, because usually those positions are being filled up by international students, but they're not here at the moment, so there's a big shortage.
Okay.
And you mentioned you are a migrant lawyer a migrant agent and a migrant lawyer. So is there a big difference in how you serve your or the migrants per se because of that?
Okay, aside from, migration agent and migration lawyer, so basically they're doing the same things, but the only thing is, I can go to federal court if necessary for a migration lawyer. So that's the big difference, because way back in overseas, I was then a practicing lawyer before I came here in Australia.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. If don't mind me asking, what year did you migrate here to Australia?
Way back in 2007, okay, but my wife came here as a sponsored employee in an IT company.
Okay.
And what?
Yes, go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, and what general advice can you give to qualified professionals wanting to still migrate in Australia?
Okay, right now we still have the list of occupation that can apply for in the future for skilled visa, like 189, 190, or 491. But the only problem is the border closure, and right now the department is not inviting or limiting its invitation to offshore migrants. Okay. So what usually I tell my overseas client, okay, because hopefully the borders will open middle of next year. So rather than wait until the border opens, they can start doing some of those things needed for their migration or visa application, such as English preparation, because if you get the highest score in English, then the more points you have. So if they think they're in the borderline, or their English is just borderline or just competent, if they want to achieve a higher score in English test, so this is the time for them to prepare. Okay. And also skill assessment. Okay. Because sometimes depending on the occupation, sometimes skill assessment might take so long. So I also advise them to at least at this stage prepare for their skill assessment, because anyway the English test and skill assessment are valid for 3 years. Okay. So rather than doing it when the borders open, I suggest to at least prepare now. So by the time they have the documents ready, rather than just doing it later. So they might miss, because everyone is waiting. So if they're just going to be delaying it, then so it might be difficult for them once the borders open.
Is it getting stricter? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Joey.
Is it getting stricter in terms in coming here? Because my experience was, or most people would say, every year the policy changes and it's getting tougher, or the needle for the camel to go through is really hard.
Okay. Right now we still have the same policy. It's still a point system. Still minimum point is 65 points for skilled migrants. Okay, but of course, the higher the points you have in the skill select, the chances of getting invited is most likely. Okay? But we still have the same system.
Okay.
It's only what is getting tighter is the number of places available for migration purposes. The number of people that can invited or apply for a skilled migrant,
Okay.
skilled visa.
How about the age? I remember 45. Is it still 45, or are they gonna give them allowance? Let's say if you were ready, but because I can't travel.
Hmm. Right now the cutoff age is still not more than 45 years
45.
old at the time, not more than 45 or 44 at the time of application. So
Application. Okay.
yeah,
Date of
so if
application.
you're able to apply and still get your visa but you cannot travel, yeah, that's still fine.
Okay.
Because you
For as long
have
as you beat
you-
that 40th age, you do it prior to your 45th birthday. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as you're able to lodge your get invitation before your 45th birthday.
Okay. Okay. That's a good.
Going back, you mentioned regarding the IELTS and paperwork. Meaning to say, you'd rather have your prospective clients to be proactively doing something about these things rather than to wait for the border to be open and start taking IELTS and processing their papers. Is that what you mean?
Yes, that is correct, because otherwise if they will just keep waiting, and other people who are already doing those things. So by that time, as I said, the quota is limited. So by that time they might just miss the cutoff or for those occupations. So and I said also, because English and skill assessment are valid for 3 years, even though if they pursue it now, it's still valid for the next 3 years. So they can still use it even if they do it early at this stage.
Okay.
So regarding the quota, because say for example with international students, I know that it is a factor that Chinese students are not necessarily coming back, or if they're coming back, not that much. So will that give an opening to other countries to have more chance of filling that quota?
Yes, I mean the school sector is also one really affected by this border closure and pandemic, and because of the border closure, so the national student cannot come here. So yeah, I mean I think in the future there will be really a big surge in people from overseas wanted to study here in Australia. So once we go back to normal, or once the border opens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So going to another question about, so what skills are companies willing to sponsor for temporary skills visa at this stage? Well, you did kind of mention there were some, they're kind of limiting, but yeah, what are some of the companies looking at?
Okay, so right now, so they're still sponsoring, especially those in medical field, nurses, doctors, and engineers, especially tradespeople, carpenters, metal fabricators, welders, chef.
Okay.
So they're still being sponsored at the moment. Okay, but the only issue is if you're overseas, the problem is getting a travel exemption if your employer is not able to get one for you. So that's the thing with someone in overseas. But if you're here in Australia, it's not a problem.
Oh, okay. The travel. So, and is it trying to get a travel extension? Is that kind of part of your job? Trying to get that?
Yes. Yeah, we can. I mean, getting a travel exemption is really difficult. Okay, especially you need to prove whether that position is going to affect the employer, or whether it's like have economic impact in Australia. That's why you need that person. So those are the things that department will look into before they grant a travel exemption. But right now, it's still like a difficult thing to get.
Now, before COVID, the this, shall I say, for lack of a better term, dispersion of people, migrants coming here, they tend to be actually spread to regionals. So is that still viable, or does it still happen, or?
Okay. Yes. Regional is usually what I would suggest to my prospective clients. That's the best option if they want to have an opportunity for purpose of getting a PR. Even international students, I suggest that they look into studying in a regional area instead of just choosing Melbourne or Sydney, because in some regional area or in some states, if you study there, they will consider you for any future nominations such as 190 or 491. So, and yeah, and yes, I would suggest in the future that people look into like studying in a regional area.
Okay, that's good.
Any specific industry of that they want to study, so that it is easier for them to enroll in the regional area?
I mean, it also depends on what is their background. So, I mean, there's so many trades profession that can be studied in regional area, commercial cookery, or those carpentry, or even professional occupations such as accountant or nursing. They can do it in a regional area. And
How about
because
the one that the agriculture sector? Because you have lots of graduates in agricultural sectors that not much to do in the Philippines as well.
I mean, for agricultural, okay, because it also depends on the profile of that person, because regional area is just not limited to agriculture or poultry. So there are many occupations available in regional area, and also there are like many regional areas like in New South Wales where they have a number of occupations that they can nominate. And when you say also regional area for purpose of migration, even South Australia, okay, and Tasmania, they are still considered regional for purpose of migration. Okay,
wow.
So they can sponsor you for 190 or 491, and so South Australia outside Adelaide, so because it's just a small state. So there's a lot of opportunity in other states other than Victoria and New South Wales. Because usually people from overseas, they just want to go either Sydney or
Melbourne. Or Brisbane.
So,
maybe Brisbane.
Yeah, so I tell them, maybe look into other states, and that, because the chances or opportunities of getting PR in the future is higher than in the capital city or in the much known states.
Actually, Kuya Allan, your role is very difficult. You know what? Because when you help somebody to get into migrate to Australia, you somehow set them for success, right? Depends on where they can actually go to, but obviously you give them an educated recommendation or advice where they could get into it. So on your perspective, I mean, how let's say a typical client would come to you, how can you direct them? Where do you start to give them the best option they're gonna get? Because probably 5 years they're gonna be staying there in that regional area, for example, right?
Okay, first I have to assess their background, okay, and their profile on what's their nearest occupation and what are the chances of getting a PR in the future. So if student visa is a pathway, so that's fine, but usually I don't, I'm just being honest with them. If you're just going to do like a diploma of business or bachelor of business that will not help you in your PR, I just tell them that, it's just going to be like a waste of money if you're just doing those courses. So I give them an alternative. So in that case, if they really want to achieve their PR status in the future, they have a clear pathway. Because usually what I observe or find out, okay, for international students, some of them just being influenced to study like a course that they cannot really use in Australia for purpose of getting a PR.
Okay. So I guess you can answer this already. So at the moment, the international students they're kind of on hold. They're not issuing any student visas at the moment.
Okay, so they're still processing student visa, okay, but the thing is getting a travel exemption to enter Australia. And even if the student visa is granted, and I don't think you want to do it online in overseas, because to be honest, most of international students wanted to come here, not just to study, but at the same time, have that opportunity to at least work while on a student visa. So yeah, I don't think they want just to study, pay higher fees, but just only to study online.
Oh, okay. Oh, because the trend right now is online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can study still online, but that's something I don't think they want to do. That's studying online while in their overseas countries.
Okay. What else? So sorry if our tops are kind of jump from one to another, but
yeah, sure.
There's so many things like, how about that? That family reunification thing. Like how if you already have like two of the kids already here, you can have the parents petition for the parents to. Is that still something?
Okay. So for that's like a parent visa if majority of the children are here in Australia, so they can still sponsor their parents for permanent resident in Australia in the future.
Okay.
So that's still ongoing.
But same thing, you still would have to ask for an exemption, correct? Or
yes, but at the moment, even parents visa are taking about the contributory one. They are taking about 4 years to be processed. So that's the thing I said to them. Same thing what I said earlier about preparing for English test and skill assessment. So if they really want to sponsor their parents, they they can start the process now and put their parent visa in the queue. Okay, because I said it's taking about 4 years. So by the time if we go back to normal, so at least their parents visa are already in a queue, and they don't have to wait, or if the borders open and just lodge at the time. So if you lodge it at least now, if the borders open next year, at least 1 year has already been taken off from out of the 4 years of waiting.
Okay.
Yep. Business operations wise, what is the difference between your business operation prior to the pandemic and the current situation? And how can you serve best your clients and prospective clients in this trying time, which is a pandemic era?
Okay, so I mean, prior to pandemic, of course, I can still process offshore skilled visa, but since last year, most of my clients are, I think, probably 80% are here already in Australia, and so most of them usually international students, so visa expiring, so we either ask for extension or we apply for another type of visa, which is called the COVID visa or the 408. So that will enable them to at least extend their stay in Australia.
Okay. So
I'm not sure if we've already covered that, but visitors are not allowed to come to Australia, is it?
Yes, they're not processing any visitor visa at the moment unless that visitor visa is coming with a travel exemption. So, for example, your partner or wife overseas, okay, is still not, and they're still not citizen or PR. So it's either you, so to be able to come here, then they should have also a visa and at the same time an exemption. So those are only limited situation where a person can travel in Australia on a visitor visa.
Okay. So
Can I add
questions?
one
Yes.
last question?
Yes. Just go ahead, John.
Because you mentioned as not only as a migration agent but migration lawyer as well earlier. The question is, did you ever represent any of your customer or client in the federal court? And if there is an outcome, what was the outcome?
We assist them, okay, but of course, before you even want to go to federal court, because that will be the last resort. Just you want your client to get the visa in the first try, so as much as possible, you want to avoid getting to that situation, and the cost of going to federal court is just expensive if you lose. So it sometimes it runs up to 10,000 Australia. Yeah. So if you don't have an appeal, if you lose, then you have to pay the government cost of the
proceeding. Okay.
Yeah. So so that's why I said, during the initial stage, at least you want to get the desired result, which is the visa application.
Okay. So yes. So we think a couple more minutes left. So we'll kind of let Allan speak. So like you might invite maybe some people out there who might want to avail of your services. We'll be posting your number. I'll get your number later, and we'll be posting it on screen in one of our and on a description. Those people or which way they want to get in touch with you. But yeah, the floor is yours, Alan. If you want to speak to some of our kababayans out there who might be needing a migration agent.
Okay, so first, thank you for Migrant Tribe for giving me this opportunity tonight to speak to our audience and in this topic. So, if you wanted some migration service or for your visa, you can look into my website, that is www.mirandamigrationlawyer.com, or you can just search my name, Allan Miranda, migration lawyer, and you can just find me there, and also you can, my number will be posted also probably
and your email and website. Okay.
Website, okay. So, and also I said, don't for those who wanted to migrate in Australia from overseas, so you just really need to be proactive rather than just waiting until things go back to normal.
Okay. So all of you out there, friends, family, don't waste this time. Do something. There's something that you can do. So once the borders start opening, hopefully you'll get one step closer to migrating here to Australia. Again, thank you to Allan for joining the Migrant Tribe. So that's it for us today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you like what we're doing. And we'll all see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.